Florence is a famous paranormal debunker in London, meaning she is a person who investigates and disproves common beliefs about ghosts, spirits, and supernatural forces. However, one day, a case from a haunted boarding school comes to her attention, where a student has recently died. As Florence sets out to unravel the school's mystery, she experiences events that are beyond her imagination. Today's top twist, an extraordinary story, is the film The Awakening. The time is 1921 in London. Many people died during this period due to the First World War and the influenza virus. Consequently, talks of ghosts and spirits were at their peak among opportunists in the country. Taking advantage of this, many people had set up businesses with the intention of deceiving people and earning money. Florence's job was to expose these incidents. In the city, a wealthy couple had lost their only child. So, a medium, someone who claims to summon spirits, was called upon to allow the mother one last meeting with her child's soul. The present medium performed various rituals involving a dead crow, and when the child's spirit seemingly appeared, everyone was astonished. The child's mother became extremely emotional. Just then, Florence caught their trick, exposed the entire incident, and proved that presenting a dead crow dressed up as a child's spirit was all fake. Finally, Officer Ivan arrested their group. Now, let me tell you a little about Florence. She lost her beloved in the war. He was martyred before Florence could send him a letter breaking off their relationship. Because of this feeling of remorse, Florence could never forgive herself. She wished to apologize to him after his death. Like many others, she had sought the help of mediums for this, but later realized it was all a fake, which is why she entered this line of work. Besides this, Florence also writes books. One day, upon returning home, a history teacher from Cumbria's Rookford boarding school named Robert Mallory suddenly came to meet her. Robert is a decorated veteran of the Second World War. When Florence saw her book in his hand, she initially thought he was a fan, but Robert corrected her misunderstanding, saying, "I hear you're a ghost hunter as well as a writer. While I'm not a fan of your writing, our school's matron is a huge admirer of yours." Then he got to the point. Robert explained that several years ago, the Rookford boarding school, which was previously a private home, saw the father of the family kill a child there. Now, the issue is that Walter, a student, died 3 weeks ago. Before his death, he had informed the headmaster that he had seen the soul of that child in the school. The question may arise, how did he know what the dead child looked like? Robert then showed her photographs of the students from the past few years, in which the child's spirit was present in every picture. Florence claimed it was a camera exposure issue, but Robert countered, the cameras used between 1902 and 1906 required a 15-second break between each shot. It would be impossible for a child to cross such a distance and move around during that time. Furthermore, the cameraman would surely have noticed. When Florence still disagreed, Robert showed her a picture from this month where the child was seen in a window of the building. Florence gave an example of a previous incident, dismissed it as a camera trick, and refused to help Robert. Robert, however, was not disheartened. He said that most of the children in their school were orphans. And in your autobiography, you've made various quotes about childhood trauma. Not only that, you also stated that if children's fear of ghosts is not removed at the right time, it can have a terrible psychological effect on them. Now you decide what you will do. If you change your mind, come to the Wellington Hotel. I'm staying there. After Robert left, Florence was lost in thought. Seeing no other way, she packed her things and set off for Rookford School. The beauty of the long drive made the time fly by unnoticed. Edward Judd drove her to the front of the enormous school spread across a vast area. Upon stepping out of the car, she was welcomed by the matron, Sister Maud Hill. Amidst all the children, a boy named Tom was staring at her with curiosity. It seemed as if he wanted to say something, which caught Florence's attention. Maud informed her, "I've been here for 15 years. Like you, I don't believe in ghosts, which is why I've come to you." The headmaster was very pleased to have an educated woman. As she gave Florence a tour of the school, Florence first asked to see the places where children claimed to have seen the most spirits. She was then taken to the old classroom, Walter's body was found right outside this room. When Florence inquired, she learned that Walter had asthma, and a few children used to tease him, so he mostly kept to himself. When Florence went to check the classroom, she met the teacher Malcolm. She noticed that Malcolm's behavior toward the children was extremely strict. Everyone was literally terrified of him. Florence asked everyone if anyone besides Walter had seen the child. That's when one child bravely spoke up and said he saw him in the upper corridor. His gruesome, terrifying face was just like the picture, but it seemed like he was in immense pain. Seeing the severity of the situation, Florence set up some special cameras, sound recording devices, and magnetic field detectors in the places where the child was most claimed to be seen. She also mixed magnesium and potassium chlorate and tied it to the camera buttons with wires. The idea was that if someone entered and their foot snagged the wire, the button would automatically press, capturing their image. She also scattered some chemicals to trace footprints, as in most cases, it is people who pretend to be ghosts to scare others. Just as Robert left in anger after hearing all this, Florence heard an unknown person's voice, scolding someone. That night, while Florence was busy with her work, the bell connected to the wire suddenly rang, and Florence noticed a fingerprint on the upper window. The strangest thing was the smell of resin coming from the window lock. Just then, seeing someone wrapped in a white cloth fleeing, Florence followed the footprints. When she reached the stairs, Florence thought she saw a child leaving. Wondering if it was a trick of the mind or reality, she came to a room downstairs and saw a dollhouse. Just then, Florence was startled by the feeling of someone's presence behind her. She saw a man walking around the room opposite with a gun. Florence rushed to catch him red-handed when Robert suddenly appeared. The next day in class, Florence checked every child's feet by spraying water. This was because if the chemical had touched anyone's foot, it would react with water and change color. And that is exactly what happened. Perry, the boy, was responsible for the previous night's incident. Florence then explained the whole situation. The night Walter died, Perry, wearing the white dress, had gone to the bathroom to scare him. Since Walter was not wearing his glasses then, he vaguely saw Perry and mistook him for the child's spirit, jumped from the window in fear. However, Perry claimed he was Walter's friend and had not done anything like that to him. He only admitted to trying to scare Miss Florence last night. He claimed those who used to bully him told him to do it. Florence then mentioned there was another boy behind this, whom she had seen on the stairs last night. As Malcolm, the leader of the bully group, moved to hit the boy past Florence, Florence caught the scent of resin, the same smell she had noticed on the window lock last night. This immediately made her suspicious because Malcolm uses resin ointment on his chest for his cough. Florence revealed that the scent was not just on the lock but also on Walter's favorite doll, which was found near where Walter's body was discovered. One eye of the doll was missing there. This proved that Malcolm was somehow present at the time of Walter's death that night. Malcolm became uneasy when questioned and confessed that Walter had come to him in fear that night. But instead of encouraging him, Malcolm snatched the doll from him and left Walter alone in the dark. Malcolm finally admitted his fault. He said, he was still alive then. Walter cried out in extreme fear, saying he had seen a ghost. But I left him there, thinking maybe this was how his fear could be overcome. But it was my mistake. Hearing his actions, the headmaster told Malcolm that the school would be on holiday starting today. The children's families would likely come to pick them up in a little while, so Malcolm must leave the school immediately. When the holiday arrived, the children's families came to pick them up. The joy among everyone for the one-week holiday was at its peak. Meanwhile, when Florence went to the lake's edge, she was startled by the sound of Judd's gun. As she went to retrieve her ex-lover's lighter that fell into the water, she saw something in the water and suddenly fell into the lake. Luckily, Robert arrived and saved her. While resting in the warmth of the fire, she noticed that Tom had not gone home. Upon asking, she learned that his family lives in India and it would take 3 weeks for them to arrive. They look after tigers there. Florence then recalled her childhood memories and shared that an enraged lion once leaped on her in Africa. Though she luckily survived that day, the claw marks are still on her shoulder. A villager rescued her from the scene. After her parents died in that lion attack, the villagers raised her. They lovingly named her Mowgli, meaning white doll. Maud asked Tom to leave and told Florence to stay there. But it was not possible for Florence to stay. So, she ignored the suggestion and went to take a bath, where she heard some noise on the other side of the wall. Going to check, she saw the distorted child and immediately followed him. Following him to the room upstairs, she saw the dollhouse. But this time, she was both surprised and terrified. This was because the dolls in every room inside the dollhouse were arranged in a way that mirrored the events that had happened to her at the school so far. Moreover, a child was standing right behind her as she was checking the dollhouse. Florence was extremely frightened by this incident. Something was happening here that she had no scientific explanation for. Feeling frustrated, she asked Maud and Robert for help, thinking it might be some kind of delusion. During the argument, she noticed that the temperature had dropped in a particular spot. This only happens when there is a supernatural presence. Florence checked the spot and found a secret passage. There was an old doll inside. When she wound the key on the doll, a nursery rhyme played, which she had been familiar with for some reason before. But when Tom suddenly ran away in fear upon hearing it, Florence ordered the entire house to be locked down. And so it was done. When Tom arrived while Florence was setting up her equipment, he asked her various questions about her childhood, which oddly made Florence feel very uncomfortable. Later in the day, when Florence was busy with her work, the magnetic field detectors in the corridor started spinning. Finally, when they pointed in a particular direction, she heard Tom calling Mowgli from upstairs. Florence rushed, following the sound, and saw a terrifying sight. A man with a shotgun was coming towards her to shoot. Florence stepped back in fear, tripped on a wire, and the camera captured one photo after another. Just then, Maud and Tom arrived, and Florence blamed them for the incident, as she had heard his voice from upstairs. Florence was deeply shaken by this event, but the real shock was still waiting. When Florence developed the photos, she saw that no man with a shotgun was captured. Instead, the small boy's spirit was standing there. Robert stared at her silently, as if saying that his words had come true today. This incident mentally triggered Florence, reminding her of old memories. Driven by emotion, Florence became intimate with Robert, and Judd saw this scene from a distance. Later that afternoon, when fear arose in Florence's mind, she went for a walk alone by the lake. Judd then tried to assault her. Just as the child's spirit haunted him, and he recoiled in fear, Florence killed Judd in self-defense and returned to the school, where Robert rushed towards the lake. Florence insisted that Tom must not know about this incident. Hearing this, Robert said, "There is no child here, only you, me, and Maud." This sentence gave Florence a terrible jolt, and with it, the biggest secret was revealed. The child spirit whose mystery Florence came to uncover was none other than Tom himself. Just then, Florence heard Tom's voice from inside the secret passage and entered it in a trance. Tom then appeared there. He explained that he couldn't always control his distorted form. However, only those who suffer from loneliness can see him, and he was in no way responsible for Walter's death. Florence asked why he was so scared when he heard the nursery rhyme from the doll. Tom initially didn't want to answer but simply said, "You will find the answer yourself." Florence then looked closely inside a dollhouse kept there and was astonished. Not only Tom, but every object from Florence's childhood was created with dolls inside. And with this, Florence began to recall old memories that she had suppressed for so long. And with this, another major twist was revealed. The family that lived in the house before it became Rookford School was Florence and her parents. The man with the shotgun Florence kept seeing in the school was none other than her own father. Florence's father was a very bad-tempered man. He constantly fought with his wife over not having a son. Consequently, an illicit affair developed between Florence's father and the domestic worker, leading to the birth of Tom. And that worker was Maud. That day, when a quarrel erupted between the husband and wife over having a son, the drunken father shot Florence's mother dead. Seeing this horrific scene, Florence hid with Tom in the secret passage. Her father, calling out Maud's name, looked for Florence. Just then, the key on the doll in Florence's hand suddenly turned, and the nursery rhyme began to play. Florence's father fired a shot in that direction, but the bullet grazed Florence's shoulder and hit Tom in the chest, killing him instantly. This is why when Florence found that doll, Tom ran away in fear upon hearing the nursery rhyme. Finally, his father, unable to bear his mistake, killed himself, and Florence saw this entire scene unfold before her eyes. The trauma of this incident was so deep that she suppressed her past. Hence, she changed the bullet mark on her shoulder into a lion's claw mark. Maud later sent Florence to London for treatment, but Tom's residual spirit remained in the house, which was later turned into a boarding school. However, only Maud could see Tom's spirit. Tom once told Florence that only those who feel lonely inside can see him. This is why, besides Maud, Walter, who was bullied by the naughty kids at school, started feeling lonely, and Tom tried to befriend him. But since Tom couldn't always control his distorted form, Walter saw his terrifying look that night and jumped from the window. Maud knew that Florence had spent all this time suppressing her horrible childhood memories and working to prove that ghosts don't exist. So, to prevent the presence of Tom's spirit from affecting the others at the school, Maud called Florence to the school. But the result was the opposite. However, Robert also played a key role in the pages of Florence's memory. In fact, Tom and Robert are intertwined in a mysterious web of relationships. Florence is a woman carrying the burden of a forgotten childhood. Because of these dark memories, she also forgot Robert, who was once her friend. This psychological state is called repressed memory. Within Robert was an unfulfilled affection for Florence. He was the one who remembered everything. Tom's death, Florence's mental breakdown, everything. When Florence returned to the boarding school, Robert silently observed her behavior. He understood that Florence was no longer the Florence she used to be. She was now only a mask of logic, suspicion, and toughness. Now that all the mysteries were revealed, Maud told Florence, "Even though you didn't recognize me from the first day you came here, you felt Tom's presence. He is still very lonely. He misses his old companion, Florence, terribly." Therefore, when Florence wanted to leave after solving the school's spirit mystery, Maud deliberately told Tom to prove his presence to Florence. Finally, Maud confessed all her faults, embraced Florence, and Tom along with her. On the other hand, Robert informed Florence that he had hidden and buried Judd's body. Florence recognized Robert at last. He, too, was carrying a deep regret in his heart, as he still couldn't forget the nightmare of his friends' deaths on the battlefield. Florence assured him of starting everything anew. Amidst this happiness and sorrow, Maud came and served Florence wine. Tom stared at Florence with an odd look, as if he wanted to say something. Maud said in a strange voice, "Tom has been alone for a long time. He wants a companion now. What say, Florence? Will you stay here forever with us?" As suspicion arose in Florence's mind, she suddenly started to feel dizzy. This was because Maud had mixed poison in the drink, because they wanted to stay with Tom forever. Florence screamed for Robert to get the medicine, but it was no use, as Maud had removed it a long time ago. Florence was slowly inching towards death. She desperately called out to Tom, saying, "I have been alone all my life. Every moment of my life has been spent in sorrow since you left. I never got a chance to feel happiness or joy." However, she didn't give up hope. She knew that if she went with Tom now, her soul might never find peace. But she promised that when the time was right, she would surely return to Tom. Finally, Tom brought the medicine hidden by Maud, gave it to Florence, hugged her, and lay down. And Maud? She had passed away a long time ago. Several days passed after this. The school holiday ended. The school grounds regained new life with the cheerful noise of the children. Florence emerged from her sorrow, remorse, and suppressed state, learning to live anew. And Robert was with her on the rest of her journey. Florence started writing a new book about the presence of spirits. And with this, today's story comes to an end. You're watching Ghostly Screen, where dark mysteries and supernatural tales come alive. Don't forget to subscribe before the lights go out.